welcome to the press. Great to have you here for Phoenix Week. The Waste Management Phoenix Open, now shortened to the WM Phoenix Open, is this week. We're going to talk about everything in depth about the tournament. We'll get to all of that today. We'll have another show audio only this week that'll talk about Live Golf Riyadh, which is their first tournament of the year. We've got the DP World Tour. Maybe it's just the Patrick Reed Tour these days over in Qatar at the Qatar Masters, depending on how you want to pronounce that. And that's really it this week. We do have the Korn Ferry Tour playing in Colombia. We'll touch on that for a couple seconds in that show as well. But this show is all about the Phoenix Open. So let's get right into it. This is the WM Phoenix Open, played once again this year in the stadium, of course, the TPC Scottsdale in Scottsdale, Arizona. Phoenix area, close-ish, 20, 30 minutes away as a suburb. This is a 1986 opening golf course designed and then redesigned or renovated by Tom Weiskopf. Jay Morrish has a hand in this as well. Over the years, he helped with the redesign. It's a par 71 golf course, pretty average length golf course by modern PGA Tour standards, 7,261 yards. Pretty similar in length to the North Course at Torrey Pines they played last week, which was a par 72 for the first two rounds of the Farmers Insurance Open. Same purse as last week, $9.6 million, so $1.728 million to the winner. 500 FedEx Cup points to the champion. We have 31 of the world top 50 competing this week, including world number one, Scottie Scheffler. And that's where we start by looking at the odds table for this week. Scottie Scheffler is plus 225 to win a 21st PGA Tour title this week. Third time at this tournament. Plus 225. Those are Tiger era numbers to win tournaments. I assume at some point the Tiger was like a minus 102 person to win a PGA Tour event at the peak of his powers. I wasn't talking about golf betting then. I am not that old, but this is about as close as it gets to that. And that is an incredible gap between, I've seen him at plus 215, plus 225, plus 230. I haven't seen anything plus 250. So plus 250 or lower, but not quite plus 200. Want Scottie Scheffler to beat a 123 person field, including himself, for a 21st PGA Tour title at a place he's won a couple of times. That is still bananas to me. Obviously, no value in it. And yet, if I came back here next week and said Scottie Scheffler won, should have bet him, would you be surprised? I would not be. The scary part is he's getting better. And the even scarier part as it relates to this show is the modeling. The difference between Scottie Scheffler number one and then going down to number two is widening and widening and widening. It's insane. And yes, there are a lot of first place points in this tournament to the winner. So that kind of helps Scheffler in terms of our modeling. But it's staggering, the difference between first and second. So it is justified in the marketplace that there is that gap. It's still kind of jarring to see it. Because Scheffler last year would have been like 5-1, 6-1, 7-1, maybe 8-1. When he was still coming back from the broken, the glass in the hand stuff. Not anymore. Those days are gone until anyone wins more than 2 events in a year, 3 events in a year. Ben Griffin, looking at you. Thanks for winning 3 times. Other than that, wins a major and 2 total wins, wins a major and 3 wins. Nobody is touching this. This is what the market is now. We can use that to our advantage in the event that Scottie Scheffler doesn't win, but this is the reality. So after that, Daniel Schauffele's 20-1. I've seen him at 22. Cam Young, 25, with Siwoo Kim and Hideki Matsuyama. Went back-to-back here about a decade ago, 16 and 17. Ben Griffin, Sam Burns, 30-1. Matt McNeely, who I think is a good play here this week, 35-1 with Victor Hovland and Chris Goddard. Harris English, Matt Fitzpatrick, who I think is a good play, 40-1. Ricky Fowler, JJ Spawn, Jake Knapp. Knapp opened a little higher than this, I think more like 45-50. So there have been some people putting some money on him, playing well to start the year, 40-1. Colin Morikawa is a stay away from me, but he's 45-1, along with Jordan Spieth. Brooks Koepka has been bet down. I've seen him 50 and 55, so people obviously have a little feeling on him. That's fine, 45-1. I'm not betting him, but Sahith Theegala at 45-1, I'm going to be betting. I may bet Jordan Spieth on a top 10 bet. I'm not going to bet him to win. I don't like his chances, but he is a horse-for-course player, and we will talk about that in a little while. Harry Hall is 50-1. Then your 55s are Nick Taylor, a past champion here. Corey Connors, fellow Canadian. Matt McCarty, who's been great to start the year. Really been great for the last 6-7 months. Sorry. Rasmus Højgaard is 60-1 with Sepp Straka, who rates out very well in our model. You'll see that in a minute. Michael Thor Bjornsson Pearson Coody, who's been playing great going back to the fall, he's 60-1. Just had a T2 last week. Daniel Berger, Wyndham Clark, Kurt Kitayama are all 65-1. So let's take a pause there. 3 more slides of 30 players. We're not going to talk about players 121, 122, 123. They're Rafa Campos, AJ Ewart, and someone else. They're all like 2,000, 5,000-1. But let's take a look at the model top 10. So I mentioned Scotty Scheffler is at number 1 in the model. If you look at the overall model, and this is available to our members at golfnewsnet.com, we score every player, right? Every player in the field. And if you remember, you get all of them. But we give away the top 10 for free. On this show, we don't usually talk about the differences between the players. Usually between, especially in the Scotty Scheffler era, if it's Scotty and Rory or Scotty and Bryson and Rory or something like that, those 3 guys have historically been relatively close. And then 3 to 10, 4 to 10 are not really. I mean, they're tighter. They're more within like a half point of one another. In this model, Scotty Scheffler rates out a 3.378 points. So that's my thinking of how many strokes gained he will average per round in a tournament. Then Xander Schauffele is second at 1.758. And the difference between Xander Schauffele and Scotty Scheffler of about 1.6, 1.62. So that difference between those 2 guys would bring you down to 0.13. Well, that's the difference between second place and 64th place. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. That explains the market, but I want you to know the difference between those guys, okay? Sepp Straka is third, relatively close to Xander Schauffele. Harry Hall fourth, Hideki fifth, Ben Griffin sixth, Matt McNeely 7, Siwoo Kim quickly moving up the board 8, Sam Burns, who's done very well in this tournament over the years, 9, and JJ Spawn is still in at 10th. So picking that up, now we look at the 70s and beyond. Minwoo Lee, Nikolai Højgaard, JT Poston are 70-1. I'm not in love with any of them. Keith Mitchell, who's now sporting what seems to be a 6-button placket on his shirts. It is magical. They have to make custom shirts just to have a V that deep. That's not even a V at that point. I don't even know what letter that is anymore. Just an I? I don't know. He's 80-1. He had a great week. Cost himself a little bit down the finish at Torrey, but had a great week. Tony Finau showed up at Torrey. He didn't show up at Palm Springs where he typically does, but he almost always shows up at Torrey. He's 90-1. I think he could be kind of interesting. Hao Tong Lee, I think, is worth a bet this week, though, at 90-1. He's played very well coming over here off the DP World Tour. I like it. I like how he'll be. I think he will embrace Phoenix a lot. I think they will embrace him. I think he's interesting. Rasmus Njørgaard Peterson, I think, can play this tournament super well, 100-1. I would bet him more on a top 20 or a top 10. Jacob Bridgman's been playing very good golf. We haven't really talked about that too much, but playing very, very good golf under the radar. I think he's worth a 10 or a 20. Michael Kim's out of this tournament, is withdrawn from what I understand. So at least that's what DK said. This is from the Superbook, so he's still in there, and that was just minutes before the show, so I don't know what's going on there. But I like Andrew Novak at that 100-1 number quite a bit. Again, seems to like this kind of golf. Played well at Torrey, just like I thought he would. I think I'm going to ride that a little bit. Johnny Kiefer at 125-1. I think he's going to have a great time this week. He's a kid. He's going to love it. He's probably a kid who's loved watching this tournament. I think he's going to really embrace it. I think he could be a good top 20 play. Christopher Reitan got off the schneid, and I think he can play on this tour. He really, really can. He needs these kinds of golf courses environments to do it. I'm not saying he's going to win, but just I want to keep knocking the door on him just so you have him in mind. Max Grazerman played well too at a Torrey 125. Don't think I'm going to pick him to win, but he'd be an interesting top 20 bet. Then you get your 150s and beyond. Michael Brennan got DQ'd for translating notes from his practice pad to his green book. He should have known that, but I don't think that really bothers him too much. Two guys I want to point out, the 150 and then the 200s. Joel Dahmen had himself a great week at Torrey Pines. He's playing basically week to week at this point, just trying to get another tournaments. If he has a good week this week, he can find himself in the signature events coming up, which is a huge, huge deal. He has a lot to play for. And I think Joel Dahmen can do very well here this week. Not saying he's going to win, but I do like him on maybe a 5 or a 10 bet. I think you can get a great number on him. He has a lot to play for. Ryan Fox really lines up well with this golf course. You'll see in a later slide when we talk about course fits. I really like his game for this golf course. I think he could play extremely well here. He still mashes the ball, good ball striker. He's going to give himself a lot of opportunities to score. Webb Simpson last fall was kind of starting to come back a little bit. He's won here in the past. I'm not betting him to win. I'm just pointing him out a little bit. I thought Sammy Valimaki would do a little bit better last week at Torrey, but I don't know that this is the perfect course for him, so I might stay away from him here. And then you kind of get into some deeper shots. And there's one thing I do want to point out about the difference between the Scotty schedule and everybody else. This slide last week, players were in like the 100 to 200 range. Now they're in the 150 to 300 range. You're going to have a lot of value in the event that Scotty slips up in the tournaments that he plays moving forward. And it's going to take a while for that to change. So if you kind of have guys that you like, that you think can do some things, and you're going to get a good value on them in the event that Scotty Scheffler screws up and he doesn't win. Adam Schenk played very, very well last week at Torrey. 300 to 1, I think is worth it, just for like $2 or $3. He won last fall at Bermuda. He's figured out something putting one-handed, which is, if you ever want to watch the interview, our conversation we had with him after he won, it's really fascinating. But it's working for him, so, why mess with success? I kind of find him interesting in the 300 to 1 number. All right. Last group of slides here, last group of 30 players, if you're listening to this in audio version. Again, now we're at the 300 to 1,000 to 1 range. That's obviously not going to be something people are going to bet here. You shouldn't, at least. And maybe Austin Smotherman. I like Austin Smotherman a lot. He could be interesting at 300 to 1. Toasty made a cut. I thought that was kind of interesting. Zach Bouchot, I always find interesting, compelling. He could win out of nowhere, or he could be horrible. But I do find him interesting. Basically, a lot of the guys in the Korn Ferry Tour are just not showing up right now. John Vanderland, of these guys, I think has probably showed up the best, and he's 800 to 1. Sudarshan Yellamraju made the cut. He is a grinder kind of guy. He could surprise you. He could get you a top 20 and probably get you a lot of money on that. Sudarshan, I like him quite a bit. And then Brian Campbell is always going to be like 500 or 1,000 to 1 until he wins, and the next week he'll be 200 to 1. This is not a very long golf course. He is the shortest hitter on the PGA Tour. He is also a multi-time winner. So, take that for what it's worth. But maybe a top 20 here could be interesting on him. All right, let's take a look at the TPC Scottsdale scorecard a little bit. I really like this golf course. As I mentioned, it is desert golf, which is I don't love desert golf, but I do think the nature of this golf course keeps these guys honest. There's enough forced carries, enough areas where you don't want to be, that you got to try to keep the ball in play. You can't just mash it everywhere and be fine. Driving does matter here to some degree. The holes themselves are a modest length, right? There aren't many holes out there, par 4 wise, under 400 yards. Really, your only one under 400 yards is 17, and that's by design. It's meant to be a drivable option for players. All the others are at 400 plus, and they don't really get particularly long a length, except 14, which is 490. All the others are, 400 to 450, maybe 470. The ball runs out pretty well there, so they're not especially long. Par 5s tend to offer a challenge, particularly 15, I think, is a good one. I like 3 as well, but 15 kind of makes you make choices because you have to clear the water to get to the green, and if it's playing firm and fast, you can make some mistakes there and go deep. So I like the golf course. We have to see what the conditions are weather-wise, but that's just something to kind of keep in mind about the golf course. But no changes from last year, exact same length, exact same everything. I'm sure they've changed a couple of things you're not going to notice, but everything else is pretty much the same. All right, let's talk about some horses for courses. So these are guys who have finished in the top 15 multiple times at this tournament in the last 5 years. We've got a range here of 2, 3, and 4. So guys like Jordan Spieth and Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele, those guys are in the 3 and 4 category. Brooks Koepka still qualifies because he did it in 21 and 22 here very well, winning here before going to Live. And I think that might tell you a little something about how he feels about the course on one hand, but on the other, it might tell you nothing because we haven't seen him here in 3, 4, 5, 4 years. Well, he hasn't played this in the last 3, right? So that's something to think about. Sam Burns loves this golf course. Matt Fitzpatrick does too. He just likes desert golf in general. I think you see him play pretty well in Dubai on the DP World Tour in their fall portion of the schedule. So I like him quite a bit. McNeely's got a good record here, which I was kind of surprised about. Cam Young has a good record here that makes sense when he drives the ball well. He's going to turn anything into a pitch and putt. Sahith Theegala has a good record here. He played really well the last couple of weeks. I think he's a guy worth betting. I think he's going to feed off the energy of the crowd quite a bit. He's a happy dude, getting engaged and married and all that good jazz. Nick Taylor has also played well here the last couple of years. Course fits. You're going to see some repeat names here, of course. But let me explain what course fit is. Course fit, as I look at it, is the distribution percentage-wise of strokes gained among players who finish in the top 25 of a particular tournament. How does that kind of rank out? How much percentage is putting versus tee to green, and then break it down by the other three categories. And then you look at players on the PGA Tour and how they distribute their strokes gained when they finish in the top 25. What is there a match there? And how the course demands fit how players score when they play well. So these are our five: Brooks Koepka, Jordan Spieth, Ryan Fox, Cameron Young, and Sahith Theegala. So it's a little bit higher in the breakdown in terms of skill of putting than I thought, than I remembered. But basically, most of these courses are in the area of 32.68 or 35.65 kind of putting versus tee to green strokes gained. But this golf course demands a lot more of your second shot ability, a lot of your approach play. Not as much driving the ball for two reasons. One, you can lose a lot of strokes hidden in the junk. And two, the ball rolls when you hit the fairway. So it's a little bit of an equalizer. Being long here doesn't mean a whole lot. And if you look at past champions of this event, that will tell you the same thing, that it's not, you don't have to be a bomber. You can be. You absolutely can be, right? Scheffler is a bomber. Koepka is a bomber. Well, maybe not quite as much as he once was, but is a bomber, right? But Hideki's not. Nick Taylor sure as hell isn't. So you don't have to be to succeed here. This is a second shot golf course. And then a lot of players with multiple top 15 finishes in the last 5 PGA Tour events played. We've obviously only played just a few this year. We played 3, but the last 2 of the fall. So Bermuda and the RSM Classic are included in here. A lot of common names, a lot of turnover. Not a lot of these are surprising. Pearson Coody, I think, probably starts to surprise some people. Ryan Gerard has been awesome. Lee Hodges, Max McGreevy, Patrick Rogers, you're going to see a lot of. Sam Stevens played well more in the fall, hasn't really played well to start this year. And then Sammy Valimaki. Matt McCarty is certainly up there as well. So some guys to think about. Top 20 percentage leaders. So guys who have played well over the last 50 PGA Tour events, finishing in the top 20, 40% or more of their starts. This is that list. Again, a lot of turnover here, or not a lot of turnover here from last week. But Scheffler, Xander, Bradley, Harry Hall, JJ Spawn, Denny McCarthy, Siwoo Kim, actually his percentage has gone up, and Matt McNeely. So a lot of players to work with there. A lot of guys to like. Again, I think the struggle with this tournament and Scotty Scheffler being in it is that he's won it multiple times, and he's Scotty freaking Scheffler. You saw the odds, plus 225 for him to win. Next best is 20-1. There's no one even in the teens this week. That's the gap, right? There's a value there if he stumbles and messes up. But again, he was better last year than the year before when he won 9 times. So far this year, obviously we have limited evidence, but he's 1 for 1 on winning. And it didn't even look that hard for him to win on Sunday at PGA West. I mean, he got so far ahead of everybody else. So do you just kind of hedge with him and have him for, I don't know, $10 or $20 if you're betting enough to try to win a certain amount on other guys? And some people have that system. I don't, but some people do. Do you hedge and try to get half your money back or all your money back by betting that amount on Scotty Scheffler? And you bet, let's say you bet $20 on him and you bet $40 on everybody else, trying to, more or less cover those bets by winning with Scotty, or you put a 30 on him and 20, I don't know, 40 on everybody else. And then, you can come up with different systems. But at some point, you're going to have to reckon with whether you want to include Scotty Scheffler in your portfolio, knowing how often he's winning, or do you just try to follow the value that's available here on a number of players? I've mentioned some of them. I'm particularly big on Mav and Sahith Theegala, maybe Sepp Straka to a degree. We've mentioned some other guys in this episode, of course, but do you just follow the value and just kind of hope, and then maybe use some derivative bets to kind of offset yourself in the event that Scotty does win? You play winner without markets. I don't particularly love those because then you lose the value, right? I would rather play 10s and 20s with Scotty Scheffler because of the value that we've showed than play the winner without and lose all of the value, because then your market starts at 20-1, right? You've tightened up really dramatically. Everything that you had gained in value is out the window. I don't like that. I don't think that's worth doing. So I would rather play the 5, 10, 20 game if you want to go that way and try to find a couple guys worth value. If you hit on multiple ones, you've probably paid for your week. Maybe use derivatives that way instead of going after Scotty. You have some more things to sweat. This is all up to you. This is kind of just a quick discussion on portfolio management, but just something to keep in mind as you're thinking through your wagers this week. We're going to change the kind of format of the show a little bit, go back to the way we did things toward the tail end of last year. Just do 2 shows a week. Try to do this episode early in the week, and this be really the only thing that we do about the PGA Tour event. Just go all in depth. Why give you the first click? Just do the whole thing. We'll do this, and then we'll do everything else. So 2 episodes a week. Yeah, that'll cost us some listens on the podcast metrics, but I don't care. I think it's the best way to do it. So that's what we're going to do moving forward. Good luck with all your bets this week on this PGA Tour event. Tune into tomorrow's audio-only show where we go talk about Live Golf Riyadh a little bit. Remember, it's a 4-round event now, and it's at night. So there'll be some challenges there in betting. We will also have the Qatar Masters, and we'll also have the Astara Golf Championship in Colombia on the Korn Ferry Tour. Got some interesting things to look at there as well. Get a hold of me, Ryan, at thegolfnewsnet.com. You can join Golf Newsnet for $40 for 1 year, $70 for 2 years, or $100 for 3 years over at golfnewsnet.com. Really appreciate you joining. Having any questions for us, we're happy to answer them as well. Thank you so much for listening or watching, and we will talk to you next time right here on The Press.